Are you a teacher who's had a student come out to them as gay, transgender, or non-binary? Well, congratulations, because that means that you have been able to build some really strong relationships with your students, and so much so that they trusted you with something so personal. But what you say or don't say will directly impact your student. Welcome to the Teacher Revolution, where I give you tips and tricks on how you can continue to grow as an educator. I'm Cindy, I'm a counselor and a teacher coach, and today I want to talk about the do's and don'ts of what to say when a student comes out to you, because it can be detrimental if you say the wrong thing. Before I share the 7 things that you don't want to say, please remember to subscribe so that you get updated on any new videos that are posted. So I want to talk about this topic because recently I was talking to a student, and we're virtual, so this is like a Zoom conversation. And the student who on the roster says Diana, on their Zoom name had Damien. And so a teacher brought it up to my attention and said, hey, have you talked to this student? Is there something we need to know? And so I assumed, at the time when I saw the student, it was Halloween. So I kind of just said, oh, I just assumed it was a Halloween thing. And so the next time I met up with the student, I asked the student through the chat, hey, do you want to be called Damien or Diana? And his response was Damien. And I said, all right, hey, let's chat in a Zoom real quick. I want to catch up with you. So we met up through the Zoom chat, and the student happens to be new to my site. And so I didn't really have any kind of background or information. And so I asked, so you want all your teachers to, call you Damien as your name? And his response was Damien or Diana, whatever works. And I was, no, how do you feel the most comfortable? I want to respect you. Our name is something very important. And his response was yeah, I'll feel more comfortable with Damien. And my next question was, so what pronouns would you like us to use? And his response was he and him. And I said, okay, I will let your teachers know. Do you feel comfortable with me letting your teachers know that is the pronouns you like? And his response was yes. Now, prior to the teacher reaching out to me to talk to the student, she had reached out to the student's teachers, because he's an 8th grader, and told them, have you guys had this conversation to find out, what's going on or what name should we be using? And the teachers didn't feel comfortable. And so I thought, I need to let them know how to have these conversations, because maybe they just don't know or just don't feel comfortable or afraid that they might, say something wrong, put their foot in their mouth. So I want to share 7 things that you shouldn't say if a student does share such private information with you, or personal information with you, and how to respond to it. So number 1 thing not to say is, why did you wait so long to tell me? It's a very significant time for a person to come out. And by saying that, there's no response to that other than, I wasn't ready, I wasn't there yet. And so you don't want to ask that question. It's a very significant time for them. Let them tell you when they're ready. There is no rush. Number 2 and number 3 are tied together. Number 2, but you're so masculine, or but you look so feminine. And number 3, I couldn't tell. This makes you sound so uninformed and not with it. It's such a spectrum. People are such a spectrum. There is no way to know just by looking at somebody. You can't just assume. You don't want to say that to the student. I couldn't tell. What are they supposed to do with that information? You want to avoid saying either one of those 2. Number 4 is kind of the opposite of 2 and 3. Number 4 is, it was obvious. Like I already knew. It's just kind of rude to say that to somebody, to say it was obvious. Maybe you think, well, you know, I could just, you know, you could just tell by the way that he or she was dressing. And so you think that by saying, well, I could already tell, I already knew. Maybe you thought you were trying to say something to the effect of, you know, it's cool, like I already knew, I've known for a while. It was very obvious to me, thinking that the person will be like, okay, what a relief. But actually, they could be very offended by that comment. So you want to avoid making that comment. Don't say it was obvious in any form of that. Number 5, I have to let your parents know. Now, if you say something like that, this student will never trust you again. They will never tell you anything. And now, as educators, it is not our place to judge or to make assumptions. You know, we're very central. We don't know what's going on at home. It is not our place to do that. Because as educators, we're not going to be able to go into their home and maybe educate their parents or keep them safe or provide an environment. We have no idea what the situation is like. When students come to me and ask me if they should tell their parents, my response is always, well, you got to think of what is the best case scenario and what's the worst case scenario. And if you're ready for both, then it's time to tell your parents, right? I'm at a K-8, so you know my oldest students are like 13, 14 years old, and I let them know, you know, if worst case scenario is that your parents said that doesn't work in our home, we're not okay with it, how are you going to respond as a student? What are you going to do? And so that might be the best advice that you give them is, you know, are you okay with either way? If they ask you, what should I do? Have them think worst case scenario, best case scenario. All right, and number 6 and number 7 of things you should avoid saying are kind of tied together. Number 6 is, are you sure? And number 7 is, well, maybe you're just confused. Now, trust me, this has probably been on their mind for a very long time. The fear of being ridiculed and teased by their peers, of being shunned, of being judged by you, their favorite teacher. It has been on their mind. They didn't just wake up one day and said, let me try this out. It has been circling in their mind probably nonstop. So asking those questions are not helpful at all. They have been thinking about it. They've probably been thinking about it nonstop for a very long time, and they probably have built a lot of anxiety getting ready to share this information with you. So you want to avoid just making them really question it. And it could maybe come from a good place of why you asked that question, but for the student, that's not what they want to hear. That's not what they were expecting from the person that they just trusted with this like very, very personal information. So this leads us to what you can say. And so my list of what you can say is just 3 things that you say. So let's get to it. First thing you say when they tell you is, thank you for trusting me. I feel like it's such a badge of honor when students trust you so much to tell you something like that. So it just means a lot. It means that you've built so much trust and that they see you as somebody that's gonna be there for them. And what a badge of honor for you if a student has been able to share something private like that. And not just about maybe them coming out, but anything that's personal to them. This means that you've built so much trust and that they just see you as an adult that they can trust. Because a lot of students just don't trust adults. So that says a lot about you. Number 2, you can say is, do you have a support group? So thank you for trusting me, and do you have a support group? Because it can feel very lonely, isolating, scary for these students based on their environment and where they are. And so asking if they have a support group will give you an idea of where they are. They might say, yeah, my family knows, everybody's cool, my friends know, or they might be like, you're the only person that knows, you're the only person I've told. And so having that background will let you know of how much support they might need when you can approach them and ask them if they're okay. All right, and number 3. So number 1 thing you say is, thank you for trusting me. Then, do you have a support group? And follow up with, I care about you just the same. That's really what they're looking for. They don't want judgment or advice unless they're seeking it. They want acceptance. And by you saying, I care for you just the same, is gonna just change their trajectory. They're gonna feel that, wow, this wasn't as scary as I thought, and I have at least one person in my life that is going to accept me for who I am and what I am and, you know, where I'm going. And so, you know, we only have our students for a few months out of the year, but that one moment could change their life forever. They will forever remember that teacher that was so careful with their emotions and with their heart and was there for them. They're gonna always remember when they told you and your reaction, which leads me to your body language. So when the student that I was talking to, it was virtual, so it was a little bit different. But if you have a student that comes out to you and you're in person, your body language is so significant, maybe even more than the words that you say. The first reaction that you have, they're gonna always remember your face. So when a student comes out to you, I want you to react in a way as if somebody just told you that they love peanut butter and jelly. It is so like, whatever, it's very central. There's no big emotion, there's no huge reaction. Your mouth doesn't drop open like, what? Like, huh? Like, you just are like, cool, thank you for trusting me with that. Wow, you know, I feel so special that you were able to trust me and tell me that. And that's it. Very central, very cool in your tone, not in one direction or the other. You're not overly excited either. You just are listening and you're there as support. So keep in mind your body language. And now if it's in a virtual setting like I had with my student Damien, you know, I just was able to just ask questions and say, well, you know, thank you for letting me know, I will share it. And I made sure that that student was okay with me sharing. I would never share if the student said that they weren't okay with it. If you want to read more about how to react or what to say when a student comes out to you, check out my blog at cindyrosa.com/blogs, and you will find more information on there. And on there you can also check out my ebook on 12 monstrous mistakes that teachers make and how to avoid them. So to recap, be mindful of what you say immediately after a student comes out to you. Your comments should be affirming so that it can build trust, so that if the student does seek advice, they know that they can come to you. And watch your body language. Make sure it's central and that you're just giving eye contact and not reacting one way or the other. Do you have any questions about what to do or what to say if a student comes out to you? Go ahead and leave a comment below and I'll make sure to get back to you. And as always, remember, we don't need to make students want to come to school. We need to create a school that students want to attend.